doing okay. I'm feeling better and better.
Great. That's really, really good to hear. Hello, John.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for letting me sit in during the beginning of the session.
All right. So first I wanted to start with just thanking you for your continuous cooperation in every session, and you're also here today. So that
Thank
makes
you.
sense.
Thank you. I appreciate your help.
Yes, absolutely. And also, as you can see, we're outside as you had requested.
It's amazing to be out here, so thank you for that, especially.
Perfect. And it's our goal to make you comfortable, especially when we're helping you help yourself. So this is amazing, and thank you for the ideas as well. So today we're going to discuss some goal planning, but last session I had introduced the idea of other professionals sitting in as part of your treatment team, which is why John is here today. So before we move on, I would like to give you an opportunity to ask John any questions that you might have before we begin.
Actually, I was really curious how that's going to work, only because I just started working with my therapist, and I'm kind of uncomfortable with the idea of having a lot of people in the session. How would that work?
Well, that's a really good question, Andy, and thank you for asking. I'm the clinical licensed social worker, so what I do is I oversee Stephanie, and basically what we want you to know is you have a team here. Like if there are times when, say, you couldn't get a hold of Stephanie, or she's with another client, you had a question, you can always call me, and it's just another person that is on Team Andy. I will not be in the sessions, but I just wanted to take a brief minute to introduce myself, and I and Stephanie work together, and wanted to let you know that if there's anything else that can be done, you have one more kind of reference right here, one more person on your team.
Okay, I get it. Okay. I'm good with that.
Okay, well, it was really nice to meet you. Thank you for letting me sit in for a minute. I will let you to continue.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Mandy, just so that kind of gives you an idea how other professionals are sometimes involved in goal planning. For example, we spoke about the possibility of having you see a psychiatrist, but we decided against that. You were not comfortable with that and
No.
felt that medication was not necessary.
No, that's definitely not where I'm at.
Okay. So just to sort of recap our previous sessions, which brought us to today, we have identified some of the issues that essentially brought you here, and we've also identified that you sort of feel like you've lost touch with yourself as a result of a recent breakup. And so I would like to go ahead and maybe work on those ways today and discuss how you can get back in touch with yourself. But before we even get into any of that, do you have any questions for me up until this point?
I'm just feeling really lost, and I appreciate what you just said, because I want to be at that place before that relationship. I'm just so lost, and I want to get back to that place.
All right, well, so that's exactly what we're going to work on today. We're going to try to begin to establish some goals to help you get in touch with yourself again and where you want to be, okay? So before we begin, I just want to explain to you a little bit how goal setting works. As you know, there could be many people involved. Today, right now, it's just me and you. You did meet John, who's another source for you. But ultimately, when setting goals, you have a very important part in doing so. Rather than me just telling you this is what's good for you, this is what you're gonna do, you get to decide for yourself, and I get to help you, okay? So some of the things we look for when identifying goals to make sure that these goals are appropriate are, is it measurable? So is it something that we can see taking place? Is it attainable? Is it realistic? Can you achieve this goal? Okay, is it positive? So we don't want you to do anything negative. We want you to work toward positive goals. And then finally, is it specific? So is it something very specific that we can see and not something just so big that we can't identify? We need to be able to identify it, okay? And then this helps us sort of measure your progress along the way as well, okay? So knowing this information about goals, do you have any questions for me right now?
Well, yeah, actually, I do have a question or a comment. I don't even know where to even begin. Like, how does that work? Like, I'm just really confused. I wouldn't even know where to start.
That's actually a wonderful question and a normal question as well. So we're gonna start by me asking you a question, and then while you're answering my question, I'm just gonna take some notes if that's okay with you, and these notes are gonna help us sort of identify what might be good to establish as goals.
Sure, that's okay.
So, Mandy, I want you to think about this question I'm gonna ask you, and really just sort of try to envision yourself, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So in a perfect world, without the issues that currently came up, without any of these problems, how do you see yourself? What do you see yourself doing?
In a perfect world. That's a tough question. I've never really thought about it. Looking back, I would look at everything I was doing prior to this relationship. I was just hanging out with my friends, having a good time. I was practicing yoga, meditation, and I'm just really tired of this like negative thinking. I'm constantly flooded by these negative thoughts. So in a perfect world, I would love to not have those thoughts constantly just flooding.
So what I'm hearing you say is that there's multiple things I'm hearing you say, but one of those things is that you miss yoga a little bit. Is that correct?
I do. I used to practice it all the time, and I just felt so relaxed, so free, and I do miss it.
How would you feel about getting back into yoga?
You know, definitely that would be where I want to be. It's just, I haven't done it so long. It's getting back into that routine of doing things for myself. It feels awkward now because I haven't done it. Everything pretty much revolved around my relationship with my ex-boyfriend. So as awesome as that sounds to be at that place, it's actually really difficult for me.
Okay. Well, it sounds like getting back into yoga might be something good for you. So we can think about this as a goal. I know you used to go 4 times a week.
Yeah, I used to go quite a bit.
Okay. So how would you feel about, do you think it's realistic for you to get back into yoga maybe twice a week?
I would say that would be reasonable. It could be definitely something I can do. I have so much more time on my hands now that sometimes I don't even know what to do with myself. So 2 is definitely reasonable.
Okay, so then I think we should jot that down as a goal. What do you think?
I think that's a really good idea, and it's definitely something that's important to me.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll start there, and then we'll start to talk about some more. Okay, so yoga sounds like a good idea. More of what I'm hearing is that you're not spending as much time with your friends anymore, so can you tell me a little bit about how time with your friends has changed?
You know, it drastically, completely changed. Initially, I used to spend a lot of time with my best friend. I've known her since pretty much elementary school. We're super close, you know, and I just really enjoy the simple things in life. So even just like hanging out with her, grabbing coffee or just talking, like I really miss that. And once I met my boyfriend, and it just became that my friends were his friends. So my life pretty much revolved around that relationship. So losing that relationship meant that now it affected my friendship with these friends we had in common. So it's really awkward, and I don't know how to even approach those friends anymore. And then I completely lost contact with my best friend because I really feel I neglected that relationship and just focused solely on my boyfriend.
How do you feel about trying to reconnect with your best friend?
You know, I've been actually thinking about that quite a bit. I would love to. I'm a little nervous. I feel like I hurt her by not being there for her, but it's definitely something that I would really love to do.
All right. Well, getting in touch with friends, old friends, can sometimes be difficult, but it sounds to me like you guys had a pretty good relationship. That you just sort of fell out of touch because of your relationship and such. So maybe we can try to get back in touch with her. How would you feel about making a phone call to maybe set another coffee date?
I'd be really nervous about it, honestly. But I think it's something that's well overdue. I haven't worked up the nerve to do it, even though I've been like thinking about it constantly. So now that you're bringing it up, I think it's a good time to do that. I don't really have anyone now, and she was like a sister to me. And being in the place I'm at right now, like I really need that. I really need that, and I think she's the one person that could really be supportive to me.
Ultimately, what I'm hearing is that you would love to reconnect with your friends.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Well, I think that, let me ask you, do you think that setting a coffee date is realistic?
I think that would be good because it would be something short and like a good place to start. And it would bring up old good memories where we would just like, even if we were both really busy, we would meet up for coffee. So I think I could definitely work up the nerve to do that.
Okay, great. Then I think we might have a second goal, maybe to give your friend a call and see if we can get a coffee date, yeah?
Okay,
Just the two
that
of
sounds
you.
good.
Okay. So Mandy, I think we've got some good stuff here. I think some things that we're going to work towards will really, really boost you up and get you back in touch with yourself. Generally, we like to try to get at least 3 goals. We're at 2.
Okay.
So just to sort of recap those goals real quick, we have yoga. So you're interested in attempting to get back into yoga.
Yes,
so the goal is twice a week?
Twice a week, definitely. That's going to be my goal.
Okay, perfect. And then, so we're going to jot that down, and I definitely think that is something that we can keep track of, and we can see if you've been going and measure it that way. Okay, so that's definitely a positive as well. I think that'll be very good for you. And
I agree. I think it's and it holds me accountable to something because we agreed it's twice a week. So I'm thrilled about that.
Okay, great. And then aside from yoga, your second goal was to reach out to your friend and maybe set up another coffee date because you expressed interest in reconnecting with her.
Yes. That one I'm a little nervous in approaching, but it's going to happen.
Okay.
That's my plan.
Great. For that one, right now, all we're wanting is a phone call to set a date. Okay. No pressure to go and get out there tomorrow, but maybe just to make that phone call. Okay. And I think that is definitely measurable in that next session. We can see how the phone call went and what the date is that was set. Okay. All right. So I think we have some really solid first 2 goals, and let's maybe see if we can identify a third.
Okay.
I definitely hear you speaking about wanting to get back into yoga. I definitely hear reconnecting with your friends. Both things we've discussed is definitely stuff you want to work toward. However, I want to go back a second to when I asked you the questions of in a perfect world, how you see yourself. You did mention negative thoughts. So I'd like to just give that some attention for a minute. Tell me a little bit more. I know in previous sessions we've addressed the issues of the breakup and how it's affecting you, but tell me a little bit more about these negative thoughts, about how they're affecting you, maybe what type of negative thoughts you're thinking.
It's like a constant thought of, am I good enough? And I had a certain plan. I come from a very traditional home. My parents are Asian immigrants, and there's certain expectations they have about me. At this point, pretty much my plan was, okay, I did the best at school, got my degrees. We were in this relationship for 7 years. I pretty much thought this was the person I was going to marry, and I'm 26. At this point, I would be pregnant already with my life planned. And it's these constant thoughts that are just over and over, just like what I could have done differently, and what is my family thinking. It's like, oh, now you're not going to ever get married. It's this constant pressure that I put on myself, but also my family. And then that constant just negative thoughts of like, what did I do wrong? Like, what could I have done different? And I just beat myself up constantly. It's like constant, or I just get flooded, like I mentioned earlier, with these just negative thoughts, and I don't know what to do about it.
I understand the negative thoughts, and I understand how they might interfere with your daily life, of course. So let me ask you a question. If we could develop a way to sort of diminish the negative thoughts, would you be interested in something like that?
Absolutely. If there's something that exists, I'm willing to try.
Okay. Well, I do have one idea, but again, your contributions are very important. So I'm going to introduce the idea to you, but I'd like for you to give me feedback, what you think about it for yourself, if it's appropriate for you. Okay? So I have this rubber band on my wrist. Okay? Let's say I'm having negative thoughts right now. I want to recognize that I'm thinking negatively, and as I recognize it, I'm going to snap this rubber band against my wrist. Okay? The hope is to snap myself out of that, away from those negative thoughts. Okay? So if we can put a rubber band around your wrist, and every time you find yourself thinking those negative thoughts that you're going to be alone forever, for example, you can snap that rubber band against your wrist and hopefully snap yourself out of those thoughts. Okay? At the end of the day, you could write in a journal approximately how many times you think you snapped your wrist, and maybe some of your feelings that go along with it. Okay? Like why you did it, which thoughts kind of triggered it, and such like that. So the goal is, over time, with your journal and the rubber band, to over time see those numbers getting smaller. Okay? So how many times you snap your wrist in the beginning will be greater than how many times you snap your wrist in, say, a couple of sessions. The goal is for that number to be smaller, and ultimately that reflects less negative thoughts.
How about if I'm literally like snapping it like 99 times? Like,
Well,
I could definitely see that happening where I'm like all like literally like just snapping away.
Right. Well, remember, we want to stay realistic and we want to stay positive, okay? So we don't want you to hurt yourself. That's not the goal here. The goal is positivity, right? To get away from hurting ourselves. So if you see that it's becoming overwhelming and maybe you're doing it far too many times, maybe we can go to the journal instead, okay? Because again, we don't want you to do it so many times that you start to hurt yourself, okay? The goal is to get away from the negative thoughts, not to increase them.
So by doing that, you're saying that I'm snapping it is just for me to be aware of so being aware of every time I get a negative thought. Is that what you're saying?
Sure. So by snapping it, the hope is that you'll recognize you're in this mode of negativity, and then to snap it is to sort of redirect your thinking.
Okay.
Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Do you have any questions about how this would work?
No, I'm gonna definitely give it a try,
Okay.
and I definitely see me snapping away. I'm really curious actually how many times a day I'll be snapping that. So I think that's gonna be really interesting because I've never really thought about it.
Okay. So before you leave today, I'll give you a rubber band. You can
Okay.
just put it around your wrist. I'll even let you pick which color rubber band you want.
Okay.
And then we'll see how things go. But are you okay with trying this sort of method?
Yeah, you know, I'm really open to trying anything because I haven't tried anything before. This would be like my first attempt at really doing something for myself. So I'm definitely open to it.
Okay, great. Okay, well, so just to sort of recap this session, we introduced you to the idea of setting goals. Clearly, that's what we did today. So we have yoga, we have a meeting with your friends, and then we're going to try this intervention to get away from your negative thoughts with the snapping of the rubber. Okay? While I was taking these notes, this is sort of going to be a contract of sorts. So that you and I both could stay on track of what your goals are, okay? And so that next session, we know what we were working towards, okay? So just so that we're both on the same page, and I'll give you a copy if you'd like. I'm just going to have you sign this
Okay.
so that we both are in the same understanding and we understand what we discussed today as far as your goals go. Is that okay?
Yeah, definitely. I think a copy would help.
Okay.
It would just help me, just keep me on track in my mind. So I would definitely.
Okay, great. Absolutely. I will make sure to
Okay.
get you a copy. Okay, perfect. So, Mandy, we will recap everything next week. Okay. Again, I want to thank you so much for coming out here, especially in this environment.
Thank you. Just being out here made the biggest difference. My anxiety level just completely went down just being outside. When I'm in an office and I'm constrained, it's just my anxiety level goes up. So thank you for, following up on my request and making it possible. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And so before we end today, we've done a lot today. So I just want to give you a final opportunity to ask any questions before the session ends.
Will we be meeting at the same time? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Next week we'll be meeting in the office,
Okay.
but it'll be the same time.
Okay. That sounds good. Thank
Okay.
you so much.
All right, you're very welcome.
Thank
Mandy.
you.
See you next week.
Thank you.